starters is going to hurt the Bears going forward. It's time for the GM of the Bears to get creative. He's got to make some trades. He's got to find some overlooked talent that wasn't signed to a team. And I don't envy his job, but he's got to get it done because the Bears have a legitimate shot of making the playoffs and even potentially doing some damage. And you don't want that to go down the season just because you couldn't fill in a couple of gaps with guys going down. So, Bears, get it done. Speaking of Bears, they did beat the Giants on they beat them on Thursday Night Football, sending them to 0-6. Well, the Bears continue at 4-2. And there's a good thing you don't get points for style in the NFL because it's an ugly 4-2, but a 4-2 nonetheless. And in a weak NFC, that could be just the start they need to make the playoffs because I guarantee you 10-6 will make playoffs this year. They won't have a situation like last year where 10-6 was good enough just to miss. No, 10-6 will get you in. And I did pick the Bears to win that game. If you want confirmation, go onto my Tumblr account. My Tumblr can be accessed at the CSBS on Twitter. And if you got any comments or predictions yourself about this week's game, give me a call, 630-534-0779. But the Bears won, looked pretty decent doing it, still gave up a lot of rushing yards to Brandon Jacobs, but they got the W. Some more predictions from this week. I've got the Bengals over the Bills. The Bills are a schizophrenic team at best. They show flashes of brilliance and ineptitude, but with E.J. Manuel out, I don't see how they can possibly overcome a Bengals team that's been, quite frankly, disappointing this year. The Lions at the Browns. You know, if Brian Hoyer was starting for the Browns, I probably would have picked them. He was playing great, and the Lions have a hurt Calvin Johnson. But that defense for the Lions is playing pretty good, and if Calvin Johnson plays, and it looks like he's going to, I like them to be able to put up a few points on the Browns. Plus, I don't have any faith in the Browns to stop Reggie Bush. That's just me. That's how I see it. Let me know what you think. 630-534-0779. But I got the Lions winning that one. I got the Chiefs over the Raiders. Let me save you the suspense of this one. The Chiefs aren't going to lose a game until Denver in Week 11. Undefeated Denver is going to face undefeated Kansas City, and then we'll see who is the better team. So until then, the Chiefs continue the roll. They remain undefeated. The Raiders, while playing a lot better than most of us thought they would, just aren't good enough to beat that caliber of a team. Panthers visit the Vikings, and despite the traumatic experience Adrian Peterson's going through, he said he's going to play. The Vikings organization flat out said that it's his decision. They will give him all the time he needs. It is completely his decision whether or not he's going to play. He said he's going to. I like the Vikings at home. The Panthers are a completely underwhelming team. Ron Rivera is going to get the axe before the end of the season. I don't even think he's going to make the season. Come the halfway point, he's probably gone. And I like the Vikings to just run roughshod over that suspect defense, especially now that they got rid of Pro Bowl middle linebacker John Beeson to the Giants. In another battle of ineptitude, the Steelers, coming off the bye, are going to New York to face the surprisingly good Jets. Jets defense is looking good. I like the Steelers to get the upset here. I think this is a trap game. I think Tomlin is a good coach, and given the extra time to prepare, I think he's going to come up with a really good game plan against the Jets. They're getting Le'Veon Bell back healthy, and I think he's going to be just enough to get the pressure off of Roethlisberger and give that offense the balance it so desperately needs. I've got the Steelers with the upset of the Jets in the Meadowlands. We've got the Eagles at Buccaneers. I have no faith of third-round rookie Mike Glennon to keep pace with the Eagles' offense. And I don't care if it's Michael Vick who starts or Nick Foles who starts. I've got the Eagles winning this one and potentially taking control of the NFC East. God, what a terrible division that is. That division could very easily be won with a 7-9 record. And that's just sad. But it is what it is. We've got the Packers at the Ravens. Ravens keep surprising me. I don't care. I have no faith in Flacco to keep up with Aaron Rodgers. That defense is not as good as it thinks it is. I've got the Packers, even though John Harbaugh is a very good coach, and I've got nothing against them. talent catches up with you, and they're lacking it. While the Packers have one of the best 3 sets of receivers in the league, with the possible exception of Denver. So I've got Aaron Rodgers leading the Packers to victory this week. Rams lose to the Texans. Texans are struggling, but even if Matt Schaub throws another pick six, which he probably will, the Rams are god-awful. They have no run game. Their offensive line has been shoddy at best. Tavon Austin has not delivered like they promised. And Jared Cook, after his week 1 breakout, has been mediocre all season long. Not to mention, with the Texans linebackers, they just don't give up points to tight ends. So who's Bradford going to throw to? I don't know, and I don't think he does either. So I got the Texans winning at home. Jaguars at Broncos, please. Do I even have to say it? Well, as I said earlier, not only do the Broncos win, I'm guessing they're covering that 28-point spread. Saints at Patriots. Finally, the Patriots are going to get exposed for the weak team that they are. They have gotten by with a good record over the fact that they have been playing teams that are struggling mightily. They've beat the Bills. They beat an injured Falcons team. They beat the Jets in their second week when Geno Smith was only playing his second start. They have been beating up on bad teams, and it looks like Gronkowski's not coming back, and God knows what's going on with Amendola. And that defense is not good enough to stop Drew Brees. Drew Brees torches another defense this week, and the Saints whip the Patriots. We've got Cardinals at 49ers. The Cardinals are so much worse than I thought they were going to be. I didn't think they'd make playoffs, but I thought Carson Palmer would be rejuvenated by finally having a target to throw to. I thought Larry Fitzgerald would finally have that monster season now that he has a quarterback that can throw the deep ball. No and no. Larry Fitzgerald, I can't help but feel bad for this guy. This guy should be one of the greatest receivers of all time. Despite having virtually no quarterback at his disposal for the past several seasons, he still puts up very good numbers. This guy should be leading the league in receiving yards, in catches, and touchdowns every single year. All he needs is a quarterback who's average. Who's average? But no, Carson Palmer is consistently overthrowing and underthrowing his targets. He's holding onto the ball too long. He's fumbling. He's playing awful. The Cardinals still have no semblance of a legit run game, and that defense just is not getting the job done. That's another team that could be shopping for a new coach in a couple years if Bruce Arians doesn't get a few good drafts going. So we'll see what he does this offseason, because he's got to make some major changes and get his offense clicking, because it is not clicking right now. Redskins at the Cowboys. I don't know why the Redskins are so bad. You look at them on paper and they've got all the talent in the world. Brian Orakpo at linebacker with London Fletcher anchoring the middle. You got guys like Fred Davis, Pierre Garçon, and Santana Moss who give you a competent set of receivers. Alfred Morris had his breakout year as a rookie, and RG3 had one of those phenomenal rookie seasons but has failed to follow up coming back from injury. The Cowboys, on the other hand, have actually looked very good offensively, but that defense has been suspect, to put it mildly. But in the NFC East, mediocre is enough to win the division. Quite frankly, the Cowboys are a one-eyed man in the land of the blind, and they've got enough to beat the Redskins, and they're going to in Dallas. And for the Monday Nighter, we've got the Colts at the Chargers. The Colts are playing like the best team in the league right now. Andrew Luck, quite frankly, if it weren't for Peyton Manning shattering records, Andrew Luck would be this season's MVP. But the Chargers have been playing well, and they're at home, but it's not enough in my mind to overcome a Colts team that is rolling. And with Trent Richardson getting into the fold, with T.Y. Hilton stepping up like a legitimate receiver, this Colts team is just flowing, and they're dropping points and making it rain over whoever they face, just like they did the Seahawks last week. So I got the Colts winning on Monday night and continuing their winning ways. Now, next up, we've got our Fantasy 5. got some fantasy questions or predictions of your own, give me a call, 630-534-0779. I'll answer any question you got, or tweet me at the CSBS. As you know, the Fantasy 5, we've got 5 sit 'em, 5 start 'em, and as I've said before, I tend to stay away from the well-known guys. We all know you're going to start Aaron Rodgers. We all know you're going to start Jason Witten, Tony Gonzalez, and Adrian Peterson. Those are the obvious ones. We've got some not-so-obvious ones. So let's start off at the running back. At the running back, who are we going to sit? We're sitting Alfred Morris for the Redskins. I think the Cowboys are going to jump out to an early lead. I think it's going to force the Redskins to be happy. Plus, the Cowboys have been pretty decent against the run. Their weakness has been against the pass. So the Redskins, in their game plan, should be attacking that middle of the defense with Fred Davis and getting a few quick outs into the hands of the receivers of Santana Moss and Pierre Garçon. What they should not be doing is running off tackle with Alfred Morris, because with guys like Anthony Spencer and DeMarcus Ware, he's not going to get very far. So sit Alfred Morris. Start Noshawn Moreno. Noshawn Moreno for the Broncos has kind of taken control of that starting job in Denver. They started out with the 3-back rotation, but Moreno has really separated himself from the pack and is finally playing to that first-round draft pick status out of Georgia that he was billed with. Plus, they're playing the Jaguars. Peyton Manning is going to get up early, he's going to get up fast, and he's going to put up a lot of points all day long. So we're looking in the second half, when they're already up by 30, they're probably just going to start running the ball. Guess who's going to get the carries? Noshawn Moreno. So you're going to get a lot of garbage time yards. You'll probably even get a couple of touchdowns, because Peyton Manning, he doesn't care about throwing touchdowns. He just wants to win. So if they get inside the 10, you know he's just going to hand it off. He's got no problem doing that. So Noshawn Moreno gets the nod. Defenses. Who are we starting? We're starting the Detroit Lions. Cleveland Browns lost their running back. They lost their quarterback, and they're going back to starting Brandon Weeden. Brandon Weeden likes throwing interceptions. He likes fumbling. The Lions like drafting defensive linemen who try to kill the quarterback. So go with the Lions. They're going to get sacks. They're probably going to get some turnovers. And I think this game is going to be broken wide open. And I would expect the Lions to even get a defensive touchdown out of this one. So start them. Who are we sitting? The Chargers. The Chargers are starting to revert to their old ways. They started off looking good. But to be quite frank, they're just not keeping up with people. Phillip Rivers is having to participate in shootouts, and it's not good for that team, because whereas 5 or 6 years ago they had the talent to compete with anybody, that talent pool in San Diego has diminished rapidly, and even a healthy Phillip Rivers can't overcome that. I think the Colts are going to put up monstrous points against them, both rushing and passing. I don't think it's going to be a close game, and even if it is, it's going to be yet another shootout. So sit the Chargers, D. To the tight ends, we talked about Jared Cook a little bit earlier, how he's kind of had a mediocre season ever since that Week 1 breakout performance. But as I said earlier, he's going against the Texans this week. A lot of good linebackers, and they are number 1 against fantasy tight ends in the league. Meaning that in fantasy football, tight ends that play the Texans statistically do the worst. Sit Jared Cook. Who are we starting? Greg Olsen. Greg Olsen has kind of emerged as Cam Newton's favorite target. Steve Smith, I don't know if he's slowing down or if he's just not getting open anymore, but Greg Olsen has kind of become Cam Newton's go-to guy. And they're facing the Vikings, who on the flip side of the Texans are the worst in the league defending tight ends. They give up an average of over 15 points a game in fantasy to opposing tight ends. So start Greg Olsen. He's fast, he's big, and Cam Newton likes him in the red zone. To wide receiver, Stevie Johnson of the Bills. I think he's playing hurt. They haven't announced anything officially, but he's struggling, and he has not been having a very good season. And he's playing the Bengals, and he's going to be covered by their number 1 guy, Leon Hall, without a doubt. The Bengals, while the defense is not as intimidating as it was last year, is still competent, is still capable, and is more than capable of stopping a seemingly hampered Stevie Johnson. So who are we starting in place of him? T.Y. Hilton. Hilton is among the leader of the past couple years in yards per catch. He is good to go for at least 35, at least once a game. And Andrew Luck is really, really starting to target him more. The book is out. He likes going to Reggie Wayne. That's his number one. But Reggie Wayne is constantly facing double coverage with usually a safety over the top. T.Y. Hilton is getting a lot of man-to-man. And as I said before, I do not have any respect for that Chargers defense. So start T.Y. Hilton